back to the Iron and Tequila podcast. I'm your host, Tequila Poppy. We're glad you joined us today. Today we're talking about a very important subject with respect to the veteran community. We're talking about the war, after the war, and still fighting to stay alive. Because a lot of veterans struggle with a lot of different issues. And so we want to talk about some specific veteran issues today because in honor of Veterans Day. So today I've invited a special guest, Steve Exene with the Right for 22. They're a veterans advocacy group, and they are particularly interested in preventing veteran suicides. And so, Steve, can you introduce yourself to us for a minute?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me here. It's a great honor to be on this podcast. So my name's Steve. I joined the Marine Corps in 1997, got out in 2002, and just try to find your path in life when you get out. It's a bit different.
It's a struggle.
It's a bit different, especially back in the early 2000s. Not a lot of resources out there, not a lot of help, and so trying to find your way and navigate yourself through life it was different, but obviously we're adults, so it should be easier than what you think it is, but it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And moved to Idaho in 2006 and just kind of did some sales stuff here and there. And then in 2017, I decided to make a huge change in my life and quit my job, making a decent amount of money. Mm-hmm. More money I ever made in my life. I'm from Oregon, man. And decided to go to college and use my veterans benefits that were available to me. Mm-hmm. And went to CWI first, graduated there. Then I transferred to Boise State, graduated from there. And I had goals when I was going to college. I was like trying to figure out, hey, I just want to graduate. Yeah. And then I figured out it's not as hard as what people think it is.
College?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult, but
it's not that bad.
You got to find a groove, and you got to find kind of like a path, right?
Yeah.
To navigate through this, especially you're in your 40s, and did end up graduating CWI with honors, which is pretty big for me when you graduate high school with a D+. Right?
Yeah, right.
And then I transferred to Boise State. I kind of figured it out a little bit, and then went to Boise State, and I graduated Boise State with honors as well.
Nice, dude.
And so did that. I prior to going to college, I got involved in the veteran community more. A buddy of mine took his life in 2015, so it kind of changed my perspective on veteran suicide and the mental health aspect, because as you're aware, us being a little bit older, is they always taught us to suppress it, to hide it, don't talk about it, don't grieve, and all this kind of stuff they would teach you when you're active, because there was a few guys that I was in that took their own life, and they just basically kind of put that stuff on the rug, and if there's any mental health issues, they put you in a separate little room.
Yeah, they put in a box.
They exiled you from instead of getting help. Yeah, because. If you're going to get out, which is understandable, they still should be able to help you transition. Yeah, you're not broke, but you were broke, right? They wanted you out. Yeah, and so whenever that happened to him, it kind of changed my perspective in a whole, right? Mm-hmm. And then I got involved. I wanted to do a ride just to kind of raise some awareness in that realm of the veteran mental health, and got a hold of, after I got everything kind of scheduled with the event and stuff like that, because I'm a forward thinker. I want to get everything kind of outlined, guidelined, plan it out. Huge forward thinker. Probably a big side effect on me is I always think, here, let me get everything together and then do everything, right? Yeah. And so once I got everything planned and organized, I reached out to Doug, and because I met Doug through another organization that they do a lot of charity stuff, and reached out to him, and I was like, hey, because I know he was in the Air Force for 20-something years, and I was like, hey, I got this ride going on. Can you help me with it?
Yeah.
And obviously jumped on.
Yeah.
So him and I just pounded the pavement. We rode so much in 2016 just to promote this ride. Because getting involved in the riding community is tough to put rides together alone. There's, you know, and April was coming along and reached out to his wife Debbie, and I said, hey, I really don't want to touch any of the money. I like money, but I'd rather just have
somebody else manage that.
Somebody else manage it. Not because I have issues with money. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't trust these other people, so I trust you. And obviously they were been married for a few years, a lot of years actually. And so they both joined myself and got this ride going on. And now it's history. It's been 10 years and been doing it, and we're like a hub.
Well, I started going to those rides about 9 years ago, and I've watched it grow tremendously. And that's a testament to, I think, your influence on the organization and your dedication to making it better every year, because it's huge now.
We just try to grow, and it's, us three been doing it for, like I said, for 10 years, and it's being a small local nonprofit like this. Our backbone of this nonprofit is 100% our volunteers. Yeah. I mean, the volunteers, they're there. Mm-hmm. And they just, because we built such a decent, good community, and we don't have any paid staff. Nobody's been paid. Ever. Wow. And so for 10 years, I don't have a salary. Doug and Deb don't take a salary. None of us do.
And no turnover. I mean, you guys have all been dedicated and committed to the mission.
We know
of raising veteran awareness for veterans.
That's what we're about. Is when I started this, I was like, I don't want to do prevention. There's a lot of legalities when it comes to prevention and stuff like that. And so there's a bunch of that out there. Yeah. You just got to find it. Yeah. And so that's what we do. We're a hub.
Yeah. Well, we were talking the other day about, there's not a lack of opportunity or lack of resources for veterans.
Not here in Idaho.
No, the VA does tons. The veteran organizations, there's tons of them.
There's so many.
But there is a the shortcoming tends to be with the awareness, making people aware. So your mission to raise awareness is critical for getting to connecting veterans to the resources that they need.
Exactly, and it's not, and we're a little bit different in. We just don't focus on veterans. We focus on families that have been left behind as well. Yeah. And so our mission is veterans and families that have been impacted by veteran suicide, because they need help too. Yeah. Yeah. And so we help them as much as we can.
Well, and that's why I asked you to be here today, because, there's an epidemic of suicide across the world.
Yeah, it's the number 10 cause of death in the United States, not just in general.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But in honor of Veterans Day, I wanted to broach this topic and kind of put a slant on it and narrow the focus down towards veterans experiences, because this month is Veterans Day, and we're both veterans. We've both lost friends to this epidemic, and so this episode isn't about medals. It's about survival. It's for every veteran fighting demons that the world can't see. And you made a point earlier about you get out of the military, and it's a challenge to transition back into the civilian workforce, civilian life, for a lot of veterans. And some of those challenges are finding a job, finding a new brotherhood, finding resources, and going back to college. Some guys go back to college like you did later in life. And so finding those resources, making the transition can be a real challenge. And because it's so challenging, it increases the likelihood for mental health breakdown for veterans. And so that's what we want to talk about today. The war after the war is real, and guys are suffering. It's challenging to go off to war, and everybody kind of understands that. That's universally understood. But coming back and making the transition back into being peacekeepers,
being normal,
being normal again. That's a challenge, and it can make life very difficult for veterans, particularly.
I wouldn't say just veterans. It makes life for people around them.
Yeah, true. Good point. Yeah, because their family's suffering.
And if they don't get out and get the help they need, you're not just hurting yourself. You're hurting the people around you.
Yeah.
And that's why, the mental health for veterans it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
Because it affects not just you, it affects everybody around you. It's a domino effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's where we have to kind of nip this in the bud as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And get these young men and women help.
Yeah.
And there's help out there. There's a ton of it.
There's tons of resources. But back to our earlier point, there's a lack of awareness for the availability of those resources. And so consequently, a lot of veterans, a lot of people, and even the family members of these veterans who are suffering, they don't know where to go for help.
Yeah. And it's not, you're 100% correct, but you also got to look at social media has made everything harder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the VA is perfect. It 100% is not perfect.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a lot of resources at the VA, but they get badmouthed so much.
Yeah.
And yes, and the people that have bad experiences are valid, right? Mm-hmm. But look at the percentage of people that get treated phenomenally versus the people that have some type of issues.
Yeah.
That you can't justify the majority for the minority.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, like I said, it's like I've had my issues with the VA as well, but I look at, there's a silver lining, right? Mm-hmm. What have they done? They have treated me phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so these past, 20 years or so, at first it was different because I was like, oh, the VA's bad because somebody told me it was bad.
Right.
Well, how do you know it's bad?
Yeah.
Because John Doe said it's bad. Now you don't want to go.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go try that hamburger now. In-N-Out or whatever, this hamburger place isn't very good. Well, how do I know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until you try it.
I never even tried it.
You got to try it.
But you also can't go in there. We have to go in there with an open mind that these are just people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are veterans that work at the VA and they want to help. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the help mentality that you're okay with humbling yourself and being vulnerable because they want to help you. But you got to be vulnerable. You got to understand that they want to help, but they don't want you to go in there and just be demanding and I'm entitled to these and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We got to stop with the entitlement attitude.
Well, it's funny. You reminded me, I've been going to the Boise VA for over 20 years myself, and I've had really great experiences there.
Well, the Boise VA does rate in the top 5 in the nation.
It's one of the better ones, and I understand there's some out there that aren't so great. But
and my grandpa... go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I recently had I got contacted by a friend of mine and said, hey, I know you're a veteran. You're really active in the veteran community. I've got a neighbor who's 86 years old and did, 4 years in the Air Force, 50 years ago. And this guy was losing his teeth. And he didn't, and he's, on a fixed income, Social Security, whatever, had limited resources, financial, didn't know where to go for help. And I said, well, you got to take him to the VA first and foremost. That's the first place you got to start. If they can't help him, they can point him in the right direction.
Yeah.
And this guy, 86 years old, he was adamant. I don't want to go to the VA because of the same reasons you just mentioned. He had a bad misconception about poor quality healthcare or the the institutionalized bureaucracy, or whatever his limitations were. But I got him connected with a dentist who is now taking care of his teeth for him. So
that's my grandpa was the same way.
Yeah.
Before 4 years before he passed, he's like, I was told I'm going to lose my Social Security if I get VA benefits. I'm like, Grandpa, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Your Social Security and the VA is federal. This Social Security is state, and so it's totally different. So you can double dip. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I said, I got him set up with a VSO to get him service connected, right?
Nice.
And so, but first step is he was already enrolled in the VA. And he did have a bad experience personally, the one VA in Roseburg, Oregon, because that's not a very good VA. And he's like, I don't want to go there, which is understandable. You had that right.
Yeah.
So he went to a different one.
Yeah.
And it's getting a VSO, which is extremely important now, and the older generation, because they got such a it's misinformation about it, right? So you get them a VSO, which is a veteran service officer, help them
navigate the system,
get into the veteran benefits. And my grandpa says, "I'm not going to lie."
Yeah,
I was like, "I didn't tell you to lie. You don't have to lie. Tell him everything."
Yeah,
he opened up about the Korean War for the first time.
Wow.
To one of the doctors, and he walked out 100%.
Wow, what a
and so he never talked about the Korean War until, probably 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was, and and so it's hard to really, because he's not here anymore, but it's like, what would happen if he'd have got these benefits a long time ago?
I was just going to say, the real tragedy of the story is that had he gone to the VA and started that process 40, 50 years ago, he would have had a lifetime of benefit.
Because he's not been able to work.
Yeah.
He didn't work that I know of. Wow. I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I can't remember him working because of the Korean War.
Yeah.
And his severe mental health, his headaches, and all this kind of stuff. And then when he got that 100%, he felt like he was living like a king.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's like, to him, he was used to like living off of like $1,200 a month.
Right.
If that. And so he got all this, he just felt like it was and it wasn't about just him. And that's what veterans need to understand. It's not about just you. It's everybody around you. Mm-hmm. You're struggling.
Yeah, and so your grandmother struggled.
My grandma struggled, but you wouldn't know.
Right.
They're old school.
Yeah,
that's the greatest generation in the world.
It is, and they just dealt with it, and
they were happy.
Yeah,
I never seen my grandma and grandpa angry.
But it could have been.
Oh man,
a slightly better for him.
Oh, a little bit. And when he got that, he's like, "Wow, this is what it's like."
Yeah.
And it's like it's one of those things that's why I get these younger generation veterans that I tell them, just start the process. Well, I'm tough.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be tough when you're 50.
Well, I have another personal experience as well. My dad served in Vietnam, and they didn't acknowledge Agent Orange until about
4 months ago?
maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, recently.
But this is going back about 15 years ago. My dad had got COPD and emphysema, and he was unable to work. And he was late 40s. He was about your age, dude. I'm sorry. He was about 55, actually. He was about my age when this happened. But
can you say your age again?
I'm 56, but I don't look a day past 55. I'll take that.
Exactly, take it.
But my dad was about 55, and he could no longer work because of his emphysema. And he didn't have, so he lost his job. He lost his medical benefits. And I said, he ended up moving in with me because, he lost his house. He lost everything. I moved him here from Portland to live with me. And I took him down to the VA. Day one, they got him enrolled in healthcare. They had oxygen tanks and all the necessities that he needed for his healthcare. Immediately sent out to my house. And he was able to live a much more comfortable life with those benefits, with those resources. And he had never contacted the VA. He'd been out of the Army for 40-some years, 45 years maybe at the time, and was able to get connected with those resources. And like your grandfather's experience, like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner, right? Yeah. So I encourage every veteran out there to seek out these resources.
There's a ton of them. Even if you don't like the VA, there's so many out there.
Yeah.
What do you like to do?
Yeah.
You got to find a passion.
Get connected.
Yeah.
And we just did last week. I recorded my session, episode 8 of the Iron and Tequila podcast, and we talked about the importance of brotherhood. And that's one of the things that makes military experience really valuable, is that you always have a brotherhood. And that's also one of the things that when you transition out of the military, that's one of the things that guys find themselves lacking when they transition back in to the civilian life. They miss that brotherhood.
And it's not also just transitioning back into the civilian life. You've been away from your family for 4, 5, 10, 20 years, majority of the time.
Everything's changed when you get back.
You're going back home. You don't know who's a veteran or not, because the majority of veterans, not saying they're the minority, there's still some that stay where they're at, but a majority of veterans, especially if you're in, you go home. You do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you go back home. unless you have a family, you're married and stuff. But again, the majority of veterans that get out, that 4, 6, 7, 8 years, they go back home. They don't know who to connect with. They don't know because everybody's grown.
Yeah, everything's changed.
And so, like, now you got to find that. You have to go out and search for it if you want it.
And you've got to be proactive. I mean, it's an individual self-responsibility to seek out those resources.
Because nobody's going to seek for you.
Nobody's coming to your door, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, Steve, do you want some benefits? Do you want some? You need some counseling or some help?"
And that's where it's different from when you and I got out to now. They actually get all that stuff done for you.
Yeah, the TAPS program when you get out.
When you're transitioning to get out, they'll get you service connected. They'll get you all the right resources. They do what they can. Obviously, I don't know because when we was TAPS, had to write a check.
Yeah.
How to balance your checkbook. And so now they do a lot of that stuff for you.
Yeah.
But even when you get out and you are service connected, you're in the VA system, they're also unaware they can go for more.
Yeah.
Because you can appeal that decision. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them have this mindset, they're only giving me 10, I'm good. No. You can appeal that. Yeah. And if they denied you on stuff, you can reopen those.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you can do. That's where you got to find a veteran service officer.
Yeah, absolutely. My son, speaking about, the difference between when we got out, 25 years or so
You're
ago.
like 50, but
yeah, no, it's 25 for me. I spent 14 in, so it was 25 years when I got out. But my oldest son got out of the Army active duty last year, and he did 10 years. He got out in December, and everything was they had everything lined up. As soon as he got out, he started collecting, drawing his VA disability. He was 100% rated at that point.
Yeah.
And so he's had a much better experience because I think
because of the struggles we did.
Yeah, because we were the guinea pigs of their generation.
And when we were the guinea pigs, it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Korean, Vietnam, Korean, World War II, all this kind of stuff is a cycle. How can we make it better?
Yeah.
And so
Well, swinging back to the subject of the topic of specifically veterans, taking their own lives and what an epidemic that is. I acknowledged at the beginning of this segment that it's a worldwide epidemic. There's a tremendous amount of that kind of thing happening, but it affects the veteran community at a much greater rate than it does the civilian community. Mm-hmm. And I had some statistics I wanted to throw out here because, you do Ride for 22, and the 22 signifies the 22 veterans a day take their lives. And I've heard statistics everywhere from 17 to 30.
Yeah.
Whatever the number is, it's significant.
It is.
And in 2022 alone, 6,407 veterans took their own lives. And that averaged out to about 17.6 veterans a day.
You're also not taking consideration active service members.
Right.
Because once you serve so much time, you're classified as a veteran.
Yeah.
And so we got to also think about the number one cause of death for active service members is suicide.
Yeah.
And number 2 is combat. So
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, when you put it in that aspect, when you look at it that way, it's crazy that that's a number one killer of American veterans, much more so than wartime activities. But veterans make up about 7.6% of the adult U.S. population, and they account for 14% of all adult suicides. So that statistic alone demonstrates that there's a pretty much you're 2 times more likely to unalive yourself as a veteran than as a civilian. And it's because of some of those challenges that we talked about at the beginning of this segment about the transition, losing the Brotherhood, lacking some direction, having difficulty with PTSD and some mental health issues and stuff. The high rates of alcoholism, drug abuse, divorce rates are higher in the military. All those dynamics they create an environment in which veterans succumb to taking their own lives. And so that community is very exposed to that risk. I've got some more statistics here I wanted to go over. There's 1.7 million veterans seek mental health care each year, and 41% say they need ongoing help. We've talked about the help that's available at the VA. That's just one resource that's available for mental health care for veterans. It's certainly the first place to start. If you're looking for help, if you need help, go to the VA first. If you're not into the VA, if you don't want to associate yourself with the VA, or you have misconceptions, or if you think the VA is not for you, at least start there, and they can point you in the direction of other resources that can help you with mental health issues. So 41% of veterans say they need ongoing mental health, but only 33% are actually getting that help. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about some of the resources that are available for veterans. Join us in the second half of this segment. We'll see you soon. Hey everybody, welcome back to the second half of today's episode on the war after the war, still fighting to stay alive. And before the break, Steve and I were talking about some of the statistics that are where veterans are affected to a much higher rate than the civilian sector. We left that last segment with a statistic that only 23% of the 1.7 million veterans in America are getting who need mental health care are actually getting mental health care. So it's still an epidemic. There's still a ton of veterans out there who are not getting to the resources that they need for mental health care.
And not just on that, it's something that a lot of people don't realize is, when you lose on an average, 20 plus veterans and one active service member to suicide each day. So you do the math yourself, right? Yeah. That's obvious on an average. It could be 1, 20, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter about the number. That's just what on an average.
Yeah, the trend.
The trend is, you're 20 plus 1. 1 is your active service member. But this statistic is probably going to make you wonder why. And it makes me wonder why too. So out of those veterans that have taken their life, roughly only 63% are not through the VA system.
Not associated or connected or enrolled in the VA system.
So approximately 63% of the veterans that have taken their own life have not been through the VA system.
Unbelievable.
Which, let's do the math. That's only 27%?
27% are associated. Well, we talked about this in the first half of the segment that the VA is a resource.
Yeah.
It's not the
only.
It's not the only resource.
But there's a hit on that.
Yeah.
Like 63% roughly approximately of veterans that have taken their life are not through the VA system.
Yeah.
That means they're not even enrolled in the VA system.
So that's a missed opportunity for the veteran community to save some of these veterans, because
100%.
That 63%, a certain percentage of them could be saved if the intervention had occurred early enough.
A lot of them, I do believe, and this is just my opinion, I believe they assume they're already in the VA system because they're out, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You have to go down there and enroll.
Yeah.
And which means you got to go in, you bring your DD-214, all your information down, because there's every VA has it. They have their enrollment down. You get enrolled, and then they're going to educate you on finding a veteran service officer.
Yeah.
But I will highly recommend a couple, the organizations I like is the DAV. I've had really good luck with them. There's so many different veteran service officers. I have had good luck with the DAV. Some people might not, but I have. And so I'm giving you my personal experience, right? And so there's a ton of them. Just find a veteran service officer when you get out.
Yeah,
and get enrolled.
Yeah, and there are federal level VSO organizations, and there's also state level VSOs. Yep. Each state has their own veteran community, and that is state sponsored, and they pay for those resources in addition to the federal benefits that are available. So you talked about DAV. I'm a lifelong member of DAV, the Disabled American Veterans, but you've got the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. There's the American Legion, and there's literally hundreds of VSO organizations.
They will represent you.
Yeah,
you don't got to do anything.
Yeah, no, you pick up the phone. Yeah, I mean, do a quick research. Quick little search on the
veteran
web.
service officer.
Yeah,
that's all you got to do. Search local veteran service officer. They're all going to show up. Mm-hmm. You might get some sponsored stuff. Obviously, when you're Googling,
pass all that. Yeah.
If it says sponsored, you probably just want to pass that.
That's an ad.
It's an ad. Just find one, and I promise you, man, it's going to change your life, man.
Well, that's a great point, because there are a number of veteran organizations out there that are for profit. Yeah, and if you're searching for a VSO,
and it said they're making money off of you,
says they're sponsored and they want money up front, or they want you don't have to pay anything for this service.
What they'll do is, if you find one that's for profit, they'll represent you for free.
But they want a percentage of
33% of what you get back.
Right,
so if you get like a year, 2 years of back pay, they're going to take that. Yeah. Whatever your back pay is, they're going to take.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay for that. There are
these ones that are represented by the state, which is the VSO, the DAV,
the Idaho Veterans.
There's a bunch of them. Just go to the regional office at the VA.
Yeah,
and there's a ton of them right there. It's all free.
Yeah, it's free. If you're paying,
they're going to actually be a member, but you don't have to.
Yeah. So take if you're a veteran and you're struggling for help, if you're part of the 63% of veterans who took the easy way out, took their own lives. And they weren't enrolled in the VA healthcare system.
But but I want you to understand that's on an average 20. Okay, so imagine how many veterans, especially in Idaho, 12.4% of the population of Idaho are veterans. Oh. So imagine how many of that 12.4% in Idaho that are veterans are not through the VA system in general.
Yeah, if you could assume 63%.
That 63% is who have taken their life.
Right.
So they have not been through the VA system. Yeah. So imagine how many veterans are out there sitting right now that are not through the VA system.
Yeah.
To get the help.
It reminds me, I have a twin brother, and he served in the Army, got out in 92, I believe he got out. Did 5 years in the Army. And just this year, I finally convinced him to go get enrolled at the VA. And he did, and he was successful. And, just like your grandfather's story, my brother has been out of the Army for 33 years. And he was like, wow. I hooked him up with the VSO that I knew, sat down with the VSO, got enrolled in the VA healthcare system. So now he's getting some of his healthcare issues taken care of. But then additionally, he was able to qualify for some VA disability. That again, had he taken the time 33 years ago to apply for that, he could have been receiving those benefits for 33 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a tragedy that so many veterans don't take advantage of the resources that are available to them.
There's a bunch out there.
Yeah, there's a ton out there. So if you're part of this, percentage of people, a percentage of veterans out there who have not gotten enrolled in the VA healthcare system or gotten access to their VA benefits, start today.
And it's not just you. A lot of these guys, the people around you get affected by that. If you have kids, if you have a wife and you don't retire, you can potentially get them health care. Mm-hmm. So like if you don't do retirement or medically retire, you don't have TRICARE, you get some of these benefits, you're able to now have those benefits will transfer over to your family. Like my daughter, she gets Chapter 35. Yeah. So basically she gets all the veterans benefits.
College paid for?
No, because Idaho doesn't do that, but she'll get a stipend.
Oh, right? Okay, yeah.
And so, but there's a lot of benefits she'll have that because of what I did is going to affect her life in a positive way.
Yeah.
And so we got to stop thinking about ourselves and be selfish, which is okay to be selfish. That's self-care is okay.
Yeah.
But we need to be and stop being be selfish a little bit, get these benefits, because then potentially you have a family that you can take care of.
Yeah.
And it makes life less stressful.
Yeah. And to emphasize that point even more, it makes it less stressful for you and for your family members.
Everybody around you.
Yeah.
Because you got to think on an average, one suicide affects about 104 people.
Wow. Is that right?
Yeah. So imagine that.
Yeah. This reminds me of a story that I have recently affected me because I lost a friend to suicide this summer. And there's a plethora of reasons why people will decide to take themselves out of the game. And everything from healthcare for mental health care, PTSD for veterans, financial relationships. Which is a big one. Financial and relationships are two of the biggest ones, especially for veterans. But if you get caught up in the justice system, if you get a DUI or something, it can be an avalanche kind of effect that can push you there. But I had a friend take himself out of the game this summer. And it affected me significantly because he was a Vietnam veteran, had distinguished flying cross, had flown helicopters, been shot down a couple times, several Purple Hearts, and so he had a very distinguished career in the Army during his service in Vietnam. So he was 70, I think he was 74 years old when he decided to check out this summer. And the big tragedy for me, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and my mutual friend said, well, he probably checked out because of PTSD. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, no doubt he suffered on some level of PTSD, but his service he'd been out of the service for 53 years. He had somehow managed to manage his PTSD for 53 years. So it led me to wonder, first of all, I don't believe that it was PTSD that drove him to the finally checking out. I think it was more of a relationship issue because relationships are a big reason that men in particular will choose to check out. But it got me wondering how much of an effect his service from 53 years ago might have played into that decision to check out. Have you come across other veterans who maybe had a similar kind of experience where you thought, man, did PTSD really cause this after 53 years? Once the guy learned to manage the PTSD, can you think of an instance where maybe you helped somebody reveal why they were considering checking out?
So, I had my own issue at the Boise VA, like we discussed before. Okay, so it was self-inflicted to myself.
Yeah,
VA didn't do anything.
We're our own worst enemies.
I was being a dickhead. Yeah. To be truthful, right?
Yeah.
And so I took some time, molded everything over. I transferred everything to the Caldwell VA. It's closer to my house, anyways. I just wanted a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I found a good therapist there, and I'm going to say he saved my life.
Yeah.
Right? Randon, I'll never forget that he's still my therapist. I see him once a month, right? And he was always talking to me about group therapy. I'm like, hell no.
That's not me. I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing group therapy.
Yeah.
Then I started building a relationship with him, telling him stuff that I've never told anybody.
Yeah.
He's not a veteran.
Yeah.
He's been to VA for 15 years. And so I felt comfortable because he was not sympathetic. He was empathetic.
Right.
And he was always like, I'm going to get in the foxhole with you. I'm going to be there for you. He wasn't the type of person who goes, oh, you want a sandwich and stuff like this. So I will say something. If you want to know the difference between empathy and sympathy, search Brene Brown. Search Brene Brown, empathy versus sympathy. Game changer. Okay? So he's very empathetic, very listening, he's very helpful. Well, I built a relationship with him. I got into group therapy.
Yeah.
And I go in this group therapy, and I sit down, and I have 3 Vietnam veterans in my group therapy. And I thought to myself, how the hell am I going to relate
to these dudes,
to these guys.
Yeah.
They're Vietnam veterans.
Yeah, totally different experience.
Totally different.
Yeah,
we got to stop thinking about trauma, because post-traumatic stress, the trauma, everybody wants to focus on trauma. Okay, everybody's trauma is different.
Yeah,
regardless of what trauma is, it's 100% different.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be war related.
No, 100%.
You can, a lot of people associate PTSD with wartime experience.
So,
and for a lot of wartime veterans, that's true.
So I'll tell you right now, and I'm non-combat, but my post-traumatic stress is 100% not combat. It happened when I was still in, but it happened when I was in. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how can I relate to these Vietnam guys?
Yeah.
Combat or not, is we focused on the branches of what trauma does, which we all can relate to. Trauma is going to be different, just like everybody grief's different, right?
Yeah.
So trauma is different for everyone. We got to focus on the branches, the depression, anxiety. And we're thinking about, well, shit, I had this. I had
right. That's
I have
me.
Isolation. We all have these that the trauma causes, which is the branches of trauma.
Right.
That's what we focus on.
That's the commonality.
Yeah. And so when you bring up your neighbor, which hit me at tenfold, the guy across from me, actually he's from my same hometown. Okay, just a small world. He was a principal like a mile from my house, right, the school. He never talked about Vietnam War.
Yeah.
He found a way to suppress it.
Yeah. Which is one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, because we were always taught, put it in Pandora's box.
Right.
It's going to go away.
Compartmentalize it, put it in the back.
Put it in the back of the head.
And don't deal with it.
And then he had an incident. He got into a car accident. And it triggered Vietnam.
Experiences, yeah.
Because the fire and stuff like this, it just triggered ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
And that's what made him start going to therapy. We'll get into group and stuff. And he talked about... Because when we went through what's called cognitive processing therapy, which we didn't talk about trauma. We talked about stuff that happens that triggers you, and then you analyze it all. And majority of the time, it's you.
Yeah.
It's you, it's just you, and you break it all down, right? And once we finish this topic of the cognitive processing therapy, which is trauma therapy, which is extremely tough. Then we started talking about our trauma and what started it. For that 8 weeks, we didn't talk about trauma.
Yeah.
We talked about fixing it, the branches. And then we talked about trauma, and I'm in tears. He's telling his story. He goes, this is the first time in 50 years I've ever talked about what happened in Vietnam. Yeah. My wife doesn't even know.
Wow.
And so you can see a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Like it hit me in my soul.
Just this weight coming off of him.
Yeah, then you're sitting there, well, how can I even talk about my trauma compared to his?
Right.
The stuff he said is like from a horror movie.
Right.
But he was like, he felt like, then he was like, what do I do from his situation? I said, you know what, I will recommend this. I'll find some resources for you. Have you ever thought about just writing the VA? Not the VA, writing the Navy and tell them your story? You might not get a reply back.
Yeah.
But have you ever just thought about putting everything on paper of what you just said and just write it down and send it to the Department of the Navy? They have a department that talks about the stuff he experienced.
Yeah.
Was very, very against the law, what they did. And so I won't talk about what obviously, but I said, have you ever thought about just writing the Navy and getting this stuff off your chest? Because you've been suppressing it for 50 years.
Yeah.
Maybe this might help you. Maybe
as a way to release.
And I'm not saying you're going to go after these guys for what they did, but maybe it might give you peace.
Yeah.
Maybe it might give what you saw happen to those people. Let them be free.
Yeah.
Gives them peace that they won't haunt you anymore because what happened was haunting him. Have you ever thought about just maybe releasing that and writing it on paper? And he goes, I did that, and it's like the best thing he's ever done. Even though he did get a reply back, but it's like. It was him putting that on paper and being able to release that and let those demons go away because what happened to him was haunting him for years.
Yeah.
And he's like, they don't haunt me anymore.
It was just a process. It was a method and a process of him giving him the ability to kind of release it.
Put it all on paper.
Put it out there and relieve himself of that burden.
And I'm not saying I, changed this guy's life or he's changed my life for the better, but I was able to build a relationship with him. So he trusted me and I trusted him. And I can call him right now. He'd come right down and have coffee right now if I was struggling.
Yeah.
Any Vietnam guy.
Yeah.
Can't even relate.
Yeah.
But we built such a good relationship and a bond that's why I believe in group therapy now. If you have the opportunity to go to group therapy, don't go in there and focus on the trauma and try to be and see which one's worse. Because at the end of the day, trauma's trauma. You're not going to get rid of it. It's not going to go away. Let's focus on those branches of what the trauma causes that we all can relate to. We all have isolation. We all have avoidance. And we all have anxiety. All this stuff, suicidal thoughts, all this stuff we have, but the trauma caused it all. We need to stop focusing on trauma. And it's like a swinging of the manlyhood. My trauma is worse than yours.
Well,
is it?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, because there's a social stigma attached to particularly men, and more particularly veterans, because most veterans we consider ourselves manly men, and so the tendency is to suppress and compartmentalize and disassociate yourself from the trauma as a means to still be a manly man, and to present yourself as someone strong. But the reality is, you can
still do all that.
Well, you can still do all that, but if you do all that,
it makes you stronger.
If you come, fast forward 50 years, and if you haven't dealt with it properly, you will find yourself in a situation where you're in triggering events, and it'll just cascade like an avalanche on top of you.
And ever since he let that out, his relationship with his wife is better. Like he's just, you can see he's happier.
Yeah.
Right? He got that. It's like he felt like he had Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Right? One side was like, you're good. This side was like, oh, no.
You're a piece of shit.
Yeah. And so like it made him feel better. Right. And it's weird because you typically do group therapy and it's over. We're one of the only sessions at the VA, the only ones that have continued to be together for over 3 years.
Is that right?
So every Tuesday, I think it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, we meet for an hour, hour and a half. And it's the same group, 10 of us. And we have our same therapist is in there. Now, we control 90% of it. He controls 10. When you're actually in session, he controls like 95 and you control 5.
Okay.
And so right now it's just us. Talk about our day, talk about our week, what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I kind of touched on this earlier, and again, our last episode 8 of the Iron and Tequila podcast, we did a segment on the importance of brotherhood, and this is just another form of brotherhood that you have with this group of in the group therapy. You've established this level of brotherhood that is part of your healing process, part of the process for dealing with trauma and some of the challenges that will lead other men who aren't seeking this type of therapy or this type of brotherhood. It will, if they're not seeking that, if they're not engaged with a brotherhood or with therapy or other resources, they have a greater likelihood of succumbing to the inclination to check out.
It's okay to be vulnerable, man. It took me a long time to realize that, because like you were saying, is a sign of, we always thought of it as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But actually, it's the total opposite.
Yeah. Dealing with it is a bigger sign of weakness. Yeah.
Dealing with what's going on up here.
Yeah.
And finding something to get you, to help you, is actually makes you stronger.
It does make you stronger, and we had an earlier episode of our podcast too, where we talked about that. Yeah. You're not weak for struggling, because we all struggle. You're weak for hiding from it.
You're avoiding it.
If you're hiding from it, you're avoiding it. You're not addressing it, and it continues to have its negative effect on yourself and your family members.
This is where you cannot be selfish.
Yeah.
Because you're not just affecting you.
Yeah.
You're affecting everybody around you. And that's where you got to, you have to. There's no doubt in my mind. If you're struggling, you put your hand out there, someone's going to grab it.
Yeah.
Promise you that.
Yeah. Especially in the veteran community.
It might not be some you even realize will put their hand out.
Yeah.
But they're going to put their hand out there.
Yeah.
But if you just keep your hand to yourself, how do I know you're struggling?
Yeah.
But if you got to be willing to want the help.
Yeah. Well, you ever tried to hold your own hand? It's not the same value as
it's like the dating life. If you walk around holding your own hand, you're gonna be like,
it's not the same.
It just it feels good.
For a minute, but it's not really
financially stable.
Yeah, you're not getting the same value that you would from leaning on others who maybe have the same experience or can guide you in a direction that is more beneficial.
And so I know we're on crunch time here. So you know who Dakota Myers is, right?
Yeah.
So
I follow him. Great stories.
So I did post a stupid funny video. He ended up liking my video, which I'm thinking, Dakota Myers don't like my video. Well, all of a sudden I followed him because and he follows me back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dakota Myers. That means the guy's a Medal of Honor winner, right? And I'm going through his stuff, and dude's super funny. He does a lot of stuff, and he has his apparel brand. I'm not trying to pitch his apparel brand, but it really inspired me because his apparel brand is Own the Dash. A lot of people think the dash in between the life when you were born and the death is that dash is just there.
Yeah.
No. We've got to.
That's where you live.
That's where you live, man. You got to own it.
Yeah.
And conquer that dash, and it really resonated with me because it made me realize that I want people I want to own.
That's your legacy. That dash is your legacy. That's where everybody's going to remember you. By is the in between.
Stop focusing on my birth.
Nobody cares about that.
I was an ugly baby. I don't want to focus on my death. I don't want people to focus on either of those. When my clock punches, I don't want them to focus on birth or death.
Yeah.
I want them to focus on my dash.
Yeah. What did he do in between those
Who
periods?
did he or she impact?
Yeah.
That's what we need to focus on. The little things, man.
Yeah.
But which is actually the biggest thing.
Well, and that's another great point you bring up because we talked about this in our last episode too, the importance of brotherhood. But it's for seeking help and having a brotherhood is beneficial. It's a selfish benefit. But there's also that extra benefit, that ancillary benefit of by becoming a better person yourself, you're being a better person for not only for yourself, that's the selfish component of it.
But it's okay.
But you're better for your loved ones, for your family, your kids, your grandkids.
It's called self-care.
Yeah.
Which is we lack self-care because we think it's selfish. It's okay to be selfish when it comes to taking care of yourself because how can I help someone else when I don't take care of my own damn self? And so that's why it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about, before we wrap it up here, some resources and real help, places that veterans can go to get help that they need today. We already talked about the VA. Start with the VA. Start with the VSO.
Yeah, there's the Vet Center is amazing. Like if you don't want to go to the VA, the Vet Center is amazing because they're not attached to the VA. If you're scared of the VA, you don't want to be through the VA, the Vet Center is great. There's obviously the CVMA. If you're combat, there's a riding organization. If you want to ride, there's tons of resources out there.
Yeah, there are. At the end of the day, every day you wake up, you survived another day. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to become better, to improve that dash, to affect other people's lives.
Do you know what's free? Google.
Yeah, it's free.
You just Google veteran organizations, veteran resources in my area.
Yeah. And start there.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's on social media. They're doing something. You might not be active on social media, but you're on the internet. You're not just hiding in a box.
Yeah.
If you don't believe that mental health is crazy, watch the Stanford project.
Okay.
Isolation is the worst thing you can do for a healthy mind.
It is. And you know what? It's easy to sit around and complain about your life, but we're calling you to action today. If you do nothing else, get on the internet, Google VSO, a local resource, and make a phone call, get started. Steve, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate you joining us today on the Iron and Tequila podcast. We hope to reach out and provide some benefits to veterans on this month and Veterans Day coming up. I know you got the Marine Corps Ball next week, next weekend. Wish you all the best there. 250 years. A hell of a legacy for the Corps.
Yeah.
Semper Fi. to all the watchers, the viewers out there. And please join us next week. We'll be having some other guests who are veterans and talk about transitioning into civilian life and some of the other challenges that veterans have after service. So thank you, Steve. This is Tequila Poppy. We're out for today. Join us next week on the Iron and Tequila podcast.